Okay, so what did you find, Mark? You found something on
Well,
Deborah's site?
this is my cause to love. I've been helping other realtors for 15 years build internet technologies to let consumers access listings in the multiple listing service. And Deborah made the point earlier that the first thing that resulted from that was the comment by a lot of agents that, oh my goodness, my buyer is able to search all over Massachusetts and look at 30, 40,000 listings, and they're really getting far away from what's desirable, a good fit for them. And that as a good salesperson, they reminded people of where they wanted to commute to and from and what they could afford and the attributes that were important. So they were good listeners. I had a very widely experienced agent sitting the other day said, a lot of the times, Mark, people aren't searching for a home. They're searching for a salesperson.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
I agree. They may not know it,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I think we should have had applause.
So I always laugh about thinking of the early days in real estate where you would have this pretty much of a hustling woman who is get in the car, we're going to go here, we're going to look at these 5 properties. She had the books,
Well, yeah,
and
we
they
had
really
we had
gave
the
you a lot of
information.
directional.
Yeah.
And I never heard a lot of complaints from people about really getting them to get to a decision and not that. Then there's people that I know that they look for the perfect girlfriend and the perfect home, and they never find one 12 or 15 years later, and all this opportunity is lost. So there's a lot to be said for a good salesperson in the process, because as more and more information flows in, and whether these are real opportunities they discover on the web or they're just some pre-foreclosure information that's out there getting them
Sure.
worked up, a qualified salesperson get them through what's really the biggest. Not only is it a huge financial decision, it's a big lifestyle decision.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't think of a more higher ego purchase than where you're going to live.
Sure.
And it's also a big investment.
Right.
and this is where agents might think about embracing sort of this big world of technology, and any company or organization that comes into creating technology that will educate consumers, educate agents and brokerage firms, perhaps make searches easier. I mean, the MLSs across the country will not survive if they are trying to just have a grab for their own little niche of the world, and they want to be the gatekeepers of that information and keep other people out. I think over the next 5 years we're going to see all of this upended in some way. And we will go back to, we as professionals in the real estate world, go back to the motto, all real estate is local. So how about an agent becoming the go-to person for their neighborhood, their community, the resources of, so you buy a house, you know that after you buy a house, you need to have your furnace cleaned and serviced twice a year. You have to change the filter, should change the filter every month. That big fancy Sub-Zero you just bought has a motor, and that motor should get cleaned out twice a year to extend, go on and on and on.
Concierge
Whether
service.
Zillow or Redfin or the MLS is going to give you that information.
Absolutely.
Well, about 4 months ago, I was invited to serve on the syndication workforce for the Cape and the Islands Association of Realtors, and a lot of luxury properties, very identifiable around the world, a lot of waterfront properties. And my point, and I made this is 7 years ago, that the MLSs are the problem. We have 900 data warehouses representing 1 million authors out there. And we're arguing, debating about syndication to this person or this person. And the one thing that we're failing to do is to syndicate to each other. And I agree with you that real estate is local, but 4 out of 10 Americans are moving more than 50 miles away from their current residence. And if you look at the map of MLSs, we have there's something like 33 in California, 22 in Florida. I'm not sure how many are in the Chicago area, but I'm certainly, if you look at your compass and go 50 miles in some direction, except for into the lakes, you're probably going to run into another MLS network. And so what we've allowed ourselves to fall into as an industry is that we've been balkanized and subdivided into buckets. And I think a big reason why people do go to Zillow or Trulia and Realtor.com before that was that they're moving and they want to go to one familiar interface, and they want to look at what's competing with the home they're selling in one market and what the opportunities are in the other market. And
absolutely. And I think had the MLSs realized if they had been prescient in any way, if they had been looking out for what is best practice for their industry and their clients, meaning the individual agents
Right.
and brokerage firms,
That's right.
we would not be we wouldn't be having this conversation, because they would have led the charge, and Zillow and Trulia and Redfin would be far behind.
Right, because I think when you look at those websites, what's missing from Zillow and Trulia, and Realtor.com started this, was that the consumer doesn't want to see some stranger to them up there. They either maybe want to talk to the listing agent who has expertise on the property, or they want to see you, their agent, up there for a contact. So this whole challenge is...
Wait a minute, so Realtor.com does the same thing?
Realtor.com does the same thing. They
Really?
started this whole what they don't do is they if you don't pay them for the enhancement of the featured listing, they have a form there and says we'll route you as a lead to a real estate professional.
Oh.
So they're disguising, which I think is even worse practice. They're
It's
disguising from
blind.
the consumer who they're going to be routed to as a lead.
Without reviews.
Right, consumers don't want to be a lead. They want to actually pick and choose who it is that they want to collaborate with, and they'd like some disclosure on that. So I think that the industry's own, nominal national website started these bad practices. But getting back to it, as a software web designer, we are spending $500 million as realtors across 900 MLSs in the country. Now, if we pursued that model, and we joined every MLS so that we could have one system and be able to share with each other nationally.
Which makes sense.
It would be $42 billion in MLS fees and dues, $45 billion in earned commissions a year. So it's just not going to leverage or scale. In California, they've been trying to reciprocate, and it breaks down to the same problems you have in the phone industry, which is peering. Because if two MLSs get together and they share equally the data marts, and one MLS has a better software at a lower price, everyone's going to go to that platform. So really, the challenge here is that we need to disintermediate these MLS models because they're not serving the real estate author and publisher. In much the same way that we're seeing the publishers being challenged by Amazon and direct publication. So the solution, we kind of know where the inevitability is, and the question is, will the MLSs and the boards that
No, we
operate
don't know what
them.
the solution is. What's the solution?
Well, the solution is that we have to look at, let's look at the cost of MLS fees and dues. We're paying more money than we did 15 years ago when they had to publish books and have proprietary dial-up systems.
Yep.
Now, if you look at the equivalent services an MLS provides, upload pictures, share information, authorship, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, many organizations are
Pinterest.
doing this totally at no
Million.
cost because they honor the fact that they're getting content contributed to them, and they're selling ads in the gutters. So if we look at the core cost of what it is to share and publish across a platform, it is next to nothing. I can tell you that as a technologist.
Sure.
Now, the second thing that MLS does, and this gets a little confused with the local association, is you talk about rules and industry trade practices in terms of compensation and cooperation and
What you can
fines.
put into the,
Right, and here in Massachusetts, we had privatized our biggest MLS system, and that MLS system says we don't get involved in any of that stuff. You go to your local board, which
Yeah.
has another set of fees and dues. So my challenge to the people on the Cape Cod MLS was, I said, you need to create the MLS as a free core service for being a realtor, and you have to get over that, because if you don't change and pivot, you will be left behind in the
Mark,
West End.
you might have an answer on this. Is there any MLS anywhere in the country? I think Cape Cod, any broker can put a listing in for like $100 or whatever it is. They don't have to
be a
go on-
member.
Be a
They
member.
don't have to be a member of that MLS.
That is not universal. And let me get to the point.
But are there any MLSs anywhere else that are doing something
So-
similar for all 50 states?
No, what they said, and now the New Hampshire MLS won't do this. It's called, it's a one-off by someone, a reciprocal entry agreement for $30 or $40 actually is what they charge. Now, I had a family property come on the market in southern New Hampshire, and I kindly asked if they would give me the same courtesy, and they said, no, we will not. And what
Were you licensed in New Hampshire?
I wasn't, because I was selling my own property. We're just going to open listing. It wasn't. I said, listen, I want to make sure that we're offering a 3% commission split to everybody in your MLS network and let them know. And they refused to do it. It was going to be $1,000. I'd have to
A
join
fee?
the MLS.
Oh,
I was
you're-
licensed in Massachusetts, so I could join the MLS.
Okay.
But the result was that the consumer, working with their trusted agent, discovered the listing on a regional broker's website, because I put it in the Massachusetts MLS system and put the address in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And the poor agent was just besides herself because she's looking at her local MLS and cannot find the listing. So she calls the office that's part of this big corporate regional brokerage and says, "Is this a pocket listing?" They said, "We have no idea where the listing information came from." She finally tracked me down, looked at the small print, gave me a call. Now, mindful, I put it into the Massachusetts MLS system on a Friday. She desperately reached me on a Sunday. She said, "I drove by the property. There was no yard sign. I didn't want to knock on the door and violate any code of ethics violation." She was the first and only showing Monday morning at 10 a.m. full price offer. And this is 3 or 4 years ago in a market that was really
tough,
really
yeah.
struggling. And that's the point. And I made this to an audience of MLS administrators. Your customers are your participants, and they're trying to serve their customers. And are you helping them or hurting them in their job? And in this case, the New Hampshire MLS was hurting their customer
Sure.
because they wanted a tariff and fee out of me to get information down to them. I think most people look at their MLS and say, that's the place where I get information from thousands or tens of thousands of opportunities for my customers. And very occasionally do we actually put listings in there. Like, how many listings do you have a year, Deb, that you would put into, Deborah, that you put into an MLS?
30 to 40.
Right, and you're probably reading and looking at thousands of other listings. So the primary purpose that you're looking at the MLS is to get access to the offerings of cooperation from others in the market that you work with.
Oh, absolutely. And I said every client, even though my clients are and leads are all looking, they're looking at all different portals.
Mm-hmm.
I enter every client into the MLS
Mm-hmm.
as a search,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can have an automated search with broad parameters to pull up their information.
Mm-hmm.
The MLS, in addition, I agree with everything that you just said, and I think that I see the MLS as the people running the MLS, whoever they are, at least so let's talk about my local MLS.
Sure.
I see them serving themselves first. I see them doing whatever possible to keep their jobs and not necessarily serving. They forget that we are their client. Mm-hmm. They should, just like I wake up every morning, what can I do to best serve my client today? They should wake up every day, what can we do to best serve our client, who is first and foremost the brokerage firm slash agent, and then by extension, the sellers.
Well,
I don't think that happens.
Right.
And one more comment, and then
Sure.
we're going to wrap it up. We're
we're
way over time
And
today.
we're seeing the brokerage community respond to this because now there's a big movement afoot that says, listen, I'm a broker and I'm in 12 multiple listing services. I want to warehouse my information with my website designer and developer where I have it, and I want to push it to you. I want to syndicate to you as an MLS system. But I think if we just looked beyond, IDX, which is sharing listings of each other on websites, and we look beyond, but it has to be within my MLS participants, that if we just go out there and say, hey, we'll be happy to advertise all of our listings in Massachusetts on your website and vice versa, this is just creates the content that we need from each other so that people don't get turned away with 0 results for Chicago and are forced to go to these national portals.
Like castlesmag.com.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and so what you're doing with the Castles Mag is you're saying to people, listen, if you have a...
Now we have more time.
Now
we're on to something.
Right, so if you look at what Jim's trying to do with the Castles Mag, he's saying, look, we're trying to serve luxury markets. We can debate what that price should be in different communities, but he's basically saying, I will let you come here and share and publish and reproduce this information very broadly. And it's very much like an MLS facility, which is you're going to upload pictures, share information, share offers of compensation opportunity. Listen, we had MLS systems for 130 years before we had technology. I mean, this was started in 1885. And I asked some of the people who were around in the 1960s, how'd you do this before the computer was invented for the space shot? And he said it was simple. We got together in a room, we stood up, and I described in my own words what it was that I had to offer. And there were community
And people took notes.
And yes, and people had community expectations, so they would know that in their market, maybe they need to know about the septic system. And there were community standards expectations, what they would be sharing minimally with information and expansively. But we basically distributed index cards that went 20 copies, and they went into a little binder. Mm-hmm. So, one of the problems I've seen as a technologist with MLS is well, we need to know Title V issues in Cape Cod, or we need to know issues with wetlands in Chicago. So you have to let it go and say, listen, we, we aren't going to have 15 to 1,600 mandatory columns that you need to fill in. Down
Sure.
in Colorado Springs, people want to know what the altitude is because a piece of land at the top of Pikes Peak, literally, you're going to have trouble breathing up there.
Yeah.
So there is colloquialism and localism, the descriptions and the government regulation and oversight over real estate listings, but people know what it is that they need to put in there. And you have to look at what you're doing from a publication standpoint and make it flexible. So, so the future is going to be coming towards pretty soon. And I think, like's happened with, Loki Realty and other people were lions at the gate with getting MLS listings up online for people. At the end of the day, it's like this, and someone pointed this out, that you and I as real estate brokers can survive without Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com.
Yeah.
But they
The good
cannot
ones
survive. But they cannot survive without our content and data.
And they get most of their
That's right.
financing through realtors
And they
as
get
well.
all their customers from us. So,
Yeah.
so it's it's just, but they're showing us good things from innovation, and they're pushing us towards better customer service.
Sure.
And so I think that'll be an inevitable result. That
I'm gonna make the point before we end that the whole Trulia and Zillow merger for the lesser agents, this is the 20/80 or the 80/20 rule. Those agents that depend on those leads are going to be affected. Their
Yeah.
fees are probably going to go up some. Who knows if the service is going to be just as good or it's going to be not as good. If there's only one system, basically a monopoly, they may not have to try as hard for the higher fees. The top agents will always do well. They aren't out there paying these fees for the leads. They've got enough
They have
business
word of
coming
mouth,
in,
referrals.
and they're also building their own websites and putting their own money into their own marketing, search engine optimization to get their own leads.
I think, like, what do they say? 60,000 agents are on the premier platform for Zillow, so that's 6% of the total audience.
And I also read these numbers. Their total valuation of their profits is only like 400 million. Compare it against Facebook is like 4 million, and Google's
yeah.
like 4 billion.
Billion.
Yeah.
And Google's like 8 billion.
Right. Yeah.
Zillow and Trulia, other than the fact that there was a price run up in the stock,
Right.
no one cares.
I think Realtor.com removes the revenues are comparable in 1/5 the value. Deborah, I'm very interested because you had mentioned
One more minute. We're gonna.
but Deborah had
wrap it
said
up.
Deborah talked about 30 to maybe going to $60,000 in our marketing budget, and I think the top price point you can really do on Zillow and Trulia is about $50 a month. That minimally to give attribution and showcase to your listings. So there's an awful lot of money that's being spent on advertising promotion outside of them. And I think looking back to what it was like 15 years ago in Boston, I would have one person say, look, I spent $48,000 last year just on open house classifieds in the Boston Sunday
Oh, sure.
Globe.
The Globe.
So they are not taking a very large slice, nor do they have the potential to take a large slice of what agents are doing for advertising promotion, a lot of which is built into the type of web services they're investing in.